Right now, bacteria are trying to enter through every tiny break in your skin. Today, clean water, disinfectant, and modern medicine usually stop them. 40,000 years ago, one infected cut could swell, spread into your blood, and kill you fast. So strip away every modern treatment. Your leg is infected, your fever is rising. Could 4 ancient lines of defense keep you alive? The last one left almost no archaeological trace, and without it, the other 3 could still fail. Imagine the cut belongs to you. You live in a small hunter-gatherer group. There is no written medical knowledge and no word for bacteria. But your body has been fighting microscopic enemies for hundreds of millions of years. Blood vessels tighten. Platelets and proteins build a clot. The broken skin begins sealing itself. Immune cells move toward the damage, producing the heat, swelling, and redness we call inflammation. If infection spreads, your brain may turn up your temperature. Fever is not simply the body breaking. Moderate fever can slow some pathogens and help coordinate immune defenses. But this is not a magical cure. Higher temperatures increase the body's demand for water and energy and can become dangerous. The same inflammation that protects tissue can also damage it. Your ancestors had this first defense. So do wolves, birds, and lizards. Sometimes it was enough. This time it is not. By the second day, the skin around your cut is hot. Your leg hurts. By the third, standing becomes difficult. Your body is fighting. And it is losing. This is where the second defense begins. Other humans have seen wounds before. They do not understand microbes, but they understand patterns. Rinse dirt from a cut and it sometimes heals better. Cover it and flies cannot reach it as easily. Apply one substance and the wound worsens. Apply another and, occasionally, the swelling goes down. Most experiments vanish with the person who tried them. A few successful ones become habits. We have written evidence from roughly 4,500 years ago describing honey in wound treatments. Modern research shows why some honey can inhibit microbes. It contains little available water, it is acidic, and some varieties produce antibacterial compounds. That does not mean every ancient honey treatment worked. Antibacterial activity varies enormously between different honeys. Raw honey can also contain contamination of its own. And written Egyptian medicine is much younger than our imagined patient. Paleolithic people did not possess a perfect wound dressing. But useful chemistry could work long before anyone had the knowledge to explain it. Your group does not need to understand a molecule. It only needs to remember that one treatment seemed to work more often than another. But how far back does that kind of memory go? For one clue, we have to look inside a Neanderthal's mouth. Dental calculus is plaque that hardened and survived after death. Inside it, researchers can find fragments of food, microbes, and other material that once entered a mouth. In 2017, scientists studied calculus from Neanderthals at El Cedrón Cave in Spain. One individual had a serious dental abscess and evidence of an intestinal parasite. In material from his mouth, researchers identified poplar and a penicillium mold. Poplar contains compounds related to salicylic acid, the chemical family behind aspirin. Some penicillium molds produce substances that inhibit bacteria. It sounds like a prehistoric pharmacy, a painkiller and an antibiotic inside the mouth of the sick individual. But the honest answer is more interesting than the headline. We cannot prove why he consumed them. The mold may have arrived accidentally. Eating poplar is not the same as measuring aspirin, and penicillium is not automatically a safe dose of penicillin. Still, the pattern is difficult to ignore. A sick Neanderthal encountered substances that may have eased pain or fought microbes tens of thousands of years before laboratories could name either effect. This was knowledge without explanation. And knowledge that lives only inside one brain has a fatal weakness. When that person dies, the medicine dies too, unless someone else remembers. The third defense was not one universal shaman carrying a secret bag of miracle plants. Different groups developed different specialists, traditions, and explanations. Practical treatment could be mixed with ritual, storytelling, and ideas we would not consider medical today. But ritual can also carry instructions. Do this in this order. Use this plant, not the similar one beside it. Gather it during this season. Stop when the patient reacts this way. A story is easier to remember than a chemical formula, especially before formulas exist. Over generations, observation becomes procedure. One person learns how to clean a wound, another learns how to set a damaged limb. Someone recognizes which fever usually passes and which sickness is spreading through the group. They are not scientists running controlled trials. Their knowledge contains mistakes, superstition, and dangerous treatments. But it also contains results filtered through repeated survival. And occasionally, those results went far beyond a plant or a bandage. Occasionally, someone cut into a living human body and the patient survived. In a cave on Borneo, archaeologists found the skeleton of a young person who lived around 31,000 years ago. The lower part of the left leg was missing. The original research team interpreted the shape and healing of the bones as deliberate surgical amputation. If they are right, the patient survived the operation as a child and lived for another 6 to 9 years. Think about everything that requires. Control the bleeding without modern instruments. Avoid cutting the wrong structures. Keep the wound clean in a tropical environment. Then support a young person with limited mobility for years. Another team later challenged the surgical interpretation. They argued that a severe open fracture followed by infection might possibly create similar remains. So the responsible wording is not, prehistoric surgeons definitely performed a perfect amputation. It is this: a child lost part of a leg, survived the wound, healed, and lived for years afterward. Deliberate surgery is a serious possibility, but the bones cannot show us every moment. Elsewhere, healed holes in ancient skulls provide clearer evidence that people repeatedly survived trepanation. Ancient intervention could be astonishing, but now we reach the problem every dramatic story about prehistoric medicine quietly skips. Surviving the procedure is not the same as surviving the recovery. Return to your infected leg. Perhaps the wound has been cleaned. Perhaps a useful plant reduced the pain. Perhaps someone with experience removed dead tissue. You are still too weak to walk. You cannot collect water. You cannot gather fuel. You cannot keep watch at night. You cannot follow the group if it moves. The best treatment in the world fails if the patient dies of thirst beside it. This is why the fourth defense is so difficult to find. Plants can leave chemical traces. Operations can mark bone. Tools survive in the ground. Care usually leaves nothing. A cup of water disappears. A night spent beside a sick person leaves no fossil. Food shared with someone who cannot hunt looks exactly like food that was eaten. But sometimes a human skeleton records a lifetime that should have been almost impossible alone. His name is Shanidar I. Shanidar I lived more than 45,000 years ago in what is now northern Iraq. He was an older Neanderthal with an extraordinary collection of injuries and disabilities. He had lost his right forearm and hand. Damage around his left eye probably reduced his vision. Injuries and arthritis affected the way he walked. Bone growths in his ear canals likely caused major hearing loss. That combination would make anyone dangerously vulnerable in a Pleistocene landscape. Yet, Shanidar I did not survive for a few desperate days. His bones show long healing and years of life. We cannot read compassion directly from a skeleton. Perhaps his group loved him. Perhaps an experienced older person remained valuable for knowledge, tools, or childcare. Most likely, human motives were as mixed then as they are now. What the bones do show is continued survival with multiple limitations. Someone shared resources with him, someone adjusted to his pace, someone helped make his life possible. This was not a sentimental extra added after the real medicine. It was the system that allowed every other treatment time to work. The fourth defense was other people. So how did ancient humans survive sickness without medicine? Many did not. Infection, injury, and disease killed on a scale that modern life makes difficult to imagine. No plant, healer, or caring family could reliably stop sepsis, pneumonia, or an epidemic. But without medicine is still the wrong description. Ancient humans had bodies shaped by millions of years of infection. They tested materials whose chemistry sometimes helped. They remembered results, developed specialists, and attempted procedures that left healed bone. And when a sick person could no longer feed, warm, or defend themselves, other people sometimes carried the treatment across the final distance. Return to the small cut. The wound closes. The fever passes. Our imagined patient stands again. Not because ancient people possessed a secret cure, because 4 imperfect defenses overlapped long enough to keep one human alive. Medicine did not begin with a pill. It began the first time someone brought water to a person who could not reach it.